Hi everyone, in this lesson we're going to be looking at using Scratch to simulate the evolutionary process. So I've gone to the Scratch website. I'm going to choose Start Creating. Now I'll close these windows and I will get rid of the cat. Now I'll go to plus and choose a beetle, and I want to change the size to be 30. Now I'll go to Events and choose when green flag clicked. Go to Control, choose Forever. Go to Motion, choose Move 10 steps and choose If on Edge Bounce. This is a really simple program which I think everybody already understands well. So I'll click on the green flag. There goes my beetle moving backwards and forwards. Not very interesting yet. Okay. Now, what I want is lots of beetles. So instead of creating a single beetle, I'm going to create 15 beetles using repeat 15. Now, before I do the next part, see if you can remember how to create 15 beetles. Okay, so hopefully you managed to yourself use the clone command, but if you didn't, let's have a look at how to do it. I go to create clone of myself and put it in here, and then I go to when I start as clone and put it up here. Now if I join these together, when I click the green flag, it will create 15 beetles, but they're all on top of each other. So right now I've got something that looks more like a worm. So the next step is to go to Motion and choose Go to Random Position and put that at the beginning so that when a beetle is created as a clone, it starts in a random position. Now I've got lots of beetles, but it's still not perfect because they're all facing the same way, except for this one, a little bit off. So in order to make the beetles point in different ways, I'm going to choose Point in Direction and put that up here. And I want the direction to be random, so I'll go to Operator and choose Pick Random. And that should be an angle, so that's from 1 to 360 degrees. Now let's try again. Click the green flag. Okay, now I've got 15 beetles and they're all moving in different directions. They're going a little bit fast, so let's slow it down a little bit. Maybe I'll move them at 4 steps. And go. There we go. That's a bit more relaxing. Okay, now notice that even though I've got 15 beetles, which are clones, I've also got the original beetle, and that beetle just stands there kind of looking like a dead beetle. So I want to hide that original beetle. I'll choose this icon to hide the beetle, but I still want my clones to be visible, so to make sure that the clones are visible, I'll go to Looks and choose Show and put that just before the Forever part of my program. So now when I click the green flag, I get 15 beetles, each one moving in a different direction, but my original beetle isn't visible. Okay, so we can create all of these beetles and we can move them around. You might be wondering why I do that. So I'm going to get the beetles to compete in a game, and the game is going to be a race to eat the apple. So let's add an apple to my game. And that apple is a bit big, so I'm going to decrease the size. I'm going to make the apple size 30. Okay, now when the beetle is moving, I need to check if it touches the apple. So I'll go to Control and I'll choose If Then. Now under Sensing, I'll choose Touching and I'll select the apple. So if the beetle is touching the apple, I'm going to send a message to the apple. And I can send a message using the broadcast command in Events. So I'm broadcasting a message and waiting Now the and wait just means that I'm going to make sure that the apple gets it. Okay, so I send a message, I want to make sure that the apple gets it. And the message that I'm going to broadcast, well, I'll click here and choose new message. The message is going to be eaten. Helps if I can spell. Eaten. So what I'm doing is I'm saying to the apple, hey apple, you've been eaten. And in the apple, I'm going to go to when I receive eaten. So this means when the apple gets told that it's been eaten, what does the apple do? Well, under motion, it's going to go to a random position. Okay, so I'm not actually going to make the apple disappear. I'm going to move it to a different position and say that's a new apple. So now if I run the program, the beetles move around, and when a beetle gets to the apple, that apple disappears and a new apple appears somewhere else. Okay. So now I've got lots and lots of beetles, and some of those beetles manage to bump into the apple and they get a bit of dinner. And some of the other beetles just go hungry. So what I want to do next is I want to reward the beetles that pick up the apple. If a beetle gets an apple, that's really good. I want to have more. I want that beetle to be rewarded by having a baby beetle. Okay, so the way that I'm going to do that is I'm just going to create a clone of the beetle. So under control, I'm going to choose create clone of myself, and I'm going to put that after where I broadcast eaten. Now that means that if I start off with 15 beetles, every time a beetle picks up an apple, I'm going to get an extra beetle. I've got 18, 19, lots and lots of beetles after a while. So the number of beetles is going to increase pretty rapidly. What I need is, as well as adding new beetles, I sometimes want to kill beetles. So in order to do that, I'm going to use a random number. I'm going to take an if command, and I'm going to go to operators, put that in there, and I'm going to pick a random number. Now I don't want to kill beetles all the time, so I'm going to pick a random number between 1 and 300, and I'm only going to kill the beetle if that random number is 1. Okay, so if I make a random number between 1 and 300 and I actually get 1, then it's time for that beetle to die. So I'm going to go to control and choose delete this clone. So that means that if a beetle picks up an apple, a new beetle is going to be created. But on the other hand, if a beetle is unlucky, one time in 300, it's just going to die. It's going to collapse dead. Let's see what happens now. So I'll run this program, and you can see that every now and again beetles disappear. They've just died. And if a beetle picks up that apple, the apple's in quite an inconvenient place there. I think all the beetles are going to die before any beetle gets it. Maybe I need to make them live a bit longer, so I'll change this to 500 and try again. Okay, there we go. Now some beetles are getting food. Here we go. So you can see that the beetles are dying out, but at the same time a few lucky beetles are grabbing some food, and then they get to have a baby beetle. Okay. Now, at the moment, it's just a question of luck how many beetles continue to survive. But let's make it a little bit more interesting, because I've got one type of beetle which can pick up apples. I'm now going to have two different types of beetle. So I'll right click on this beetle and choose duplicate. Okay, this is beetle 2. And to make it look different, I'm going to go to costumes, and I'm going to change some of the colors. So I'll pick a different color. Okay, let's color those wings, make him look a bit different. Okay, and I'm going to make beetle 2 a bit faster. So I'll change the number of steps that it can move from 4 to 8. Okay, and now I've got beetle 1. Let's change his name to beetle 1. and I'll have 10 of Beetle 1. So I'll change the number to 10, and I'm going to have 10 of Beetle 2, so I'll change this number to 10. Now, to be fair, I should start out with the same number of beetles, so I'm starting with 10 Beetle 1s and 10 Beetle 2s. And whichever beetle eats an apple will get another beetle of the same type. So if Beetle 1 eats an apple, then another Beetle 1 is created, and if Beetle 2 eats an apple, another Beetle 2 is created. So let's have a match between them, and we'll see which beetle eats the most apples. There we go. We start off, we've got some slow-moving blue beetles and some fast-moving green beetles. Now you can probably see that the blue beetles, well, they're not doing so well. I guess it's not too different, but actually, who knows? Who knows who's going to win? Oh, it's right down to, it's the final. It's one beetle on each side. And these beetles are both pretty tough. Oh, I thought green beetle was going to get the apple there, but it missed. Come on, green, come on. Oh, look at that! Oh, look at that. It's two blue beetles. Green's still alive, though. You never know. You never know. Oh, look at that. Oh, goodness gracious, what a turnaround. Now it's the green beetles in the lead. Oh, and the blue beetles have made a comeback. And but the green beetles, you never know. You never know what's going to happen in this. I keep thinking that the blue beetles have done it, but the green beetles keep coming back. And now I think actually the green beetles, oh, look at that. What a match. What a match. And the green beetles are just going crazy now. There's loads of them. Okay, so guys, you might get the impression there that green beetles, which move faster, are actually superior. Okay, they're better at picking up those apples. Let's add a new type of beetle. So I'm going to go to duplicate again, and I'm going to create a new design of beetle. This is Beetle 3. Okay, so let's change the design of Beetle 3. I'll go to the paintbrush. I'll choose a different color, maybe black. Let's pick some black first of all. And I'm gonna make him look like a cockroach. So cockroaches are kind of horrible things, but they are really tough. So I've heard that if there's a nuclear war, cockroaches would be one of the only creatures that survives. And yeah, they're not scared of coronavirus, I'll tell you that. Those cockroaches are pretty tough. So here we go. Let's colour in its wings. Don't tell me I'm not an artistic talent. This is some beautiful painting right here. Okay, there we go. So there's my new insect design, Beetle 3. Now, Beetle 3 is going to be a little bit like Beetle 1 and Beetle 2. It's going to be intermediate speed, so I'll move it at I'll move it at 6 steps. Okay, remember Beetle 1 moves 4 steps, Beetle 2 moves 8 steps, Beetle 3 is going to move 6 steps. So you might think that Beetle 3 is better than Beetle 1, but maybe not as good as Beetle 2. But I'm going to add in a little bit extra because I'm also going to make Beetle 3 turn a little bit. So I'm going to choose the turn command here. I won't turn a lot, I'll maybe turn just 2 degrees. Okay, so now I've got 10 of Beetle 1, I've got 10 of Beetle 2, and I've got 10 of Beetle 3. Let's put them all into a match together and see how the beetles perform. So there they go, they're off. And right, it's a pretty crazy game at the moment. There's beetles all over the place. I don't know which beetles are going to win. You can see those cockroach type beetles with their curvy path. They are curving around, whereas the other beetles are going straight. And right, it's very difficult to say who's going to win this. I've got to say the slow moving beetles have died out the first. So it's really between those fast moving beetles and the curvy beetles. I think the fast moving beetles might be winning this. It definitely looks like the fast moving beetles are in the lead. They're fast moving. Yeah, it's Easy win for the fast-moving beetles. Okay, let's try increasing the speed of those curvy beetles. So I'm going to increase their speed to 8, but they're still going to have a curvy path, whereas Beetle 2, that's also a speed of 8, but it's a straight path. Let's see how they perform. So I'll run it again. Let's see what happens. Well, I've got to say, it's a close match at the moment. All of the beetles are doing pretty well. I don't see any losers at the moment, although I think the slow-moving beetles are starting to die out. They don't seem to be doing as well as the other two. The other two are really close. The curvy beetles are doing quite well. I think it's definitely between the curvy beetles and the fast-moving beetles at the moment, but remember, in this game, sometimes beetles make a comeback. You never know what's going to happen. Now this is interesting because the curvy beetles are now definitely winning against both of the other types of beetle. Even the fast-moving beetles don't seem to be doing quite as well. It's tricky. It is very tricky. I do think that the curvy beetles... I don't know. In fact, the slow-moving beetles are making a bit of a comeback right now. It's the fast-moving beetles that are really stuck, those linear fast-moving beetles. And now all of the fast-moving straight beetles have died, so it's just down to the curvy beetles and the slow-moving beetles. I never thought that the slow-moving beetles would be in the final, but they are. But I do think that the curvy move... Oh no, hold on, look at this. Full of surprises. So the curvy beetles is two on each side. But look at that. Suddenly, the fast-moving beetles make a tremendous comeback. And, oh no! What a turnaround! What a turnaround! The slow-moving beetles have done it. They've done it. I never would have expected it, but the slow-moving beetles managed to win out there. So, just because they move slow, don't count them out of the game. Okay, so guys, this is something for you to experiment with. Create your own types of beetle and have matches between them. And generally, although there is a little bit of randomness, you'll find that some beetle designs tend to do better than other beetle designs. But there are upsets. I never expected Beetle 1 to do as well in that game as it did. So there's skill matters, but also chance matters, and you never know who's going to come out on top.